How to Be Disciplined Every Day. Written and published by Mindset Masters Audiobooks. Discipline is the invisible architecture behind every great achievement. It is what separates wishful thinking from determined action, fleeting inspiration from lasting results. This audiobook is not just a guide, it is a transformative process. If you've struggled with consistency, battled procrastination, or lost focus after strong beginnings, you're not alone. But today marks the beginning of a new chapter in your life, one where daily discipline becomes part of who you are, not just something you try to practice. The truth is, discipline isn't about perfection or pressure. It's about clarity, commitment, and courage. It's not something you're born with or without. It's something you build, one decision at a time. This journey isn't about becoming rigid or robotic. It's about creating the freedom to live intentionally, driven by purpose rather than impulses. Before anything else, understand this. Discipline is not punishment. It is a gift you give yourself, a tool to protect your dreams, a method to master your emotions instead of being mastered by them. When you show up with discipline, you tell your future self, I care about you enough to act today. We live in a world filled with distractions, shortcuts, and noise, but discipline gives you an edge. It cuts through clutter and fuels focused momentum. When practiced consistently, it sharpens your thinking, strengthens your habits, and elevates your results across every area of your life: health, work, relationships, finances, and personal growth. This is your moment to take control. To start, you must define what discipline looks like for you, not vague ideas or abstract goals, but real, grounded behaviors. What are the things you know you need to do but consistently avoid? Where are you letting comfort win over commitment? Write them down, own them. Awareness is the first step to mastery. Then, shift from motivation to systems. Motivation will fail you, but systems, habits, and structure will carry you through even on the hardest days. Start by creating a small daily routine that aligns with your top priorities. It could be waking up 30 minutes earlier, exercising for 15 minutes, journaling your goals, or setting boundaries around your screen time. Keep it simple but sacred. Honor that commitment like it's a meeting with your highest self, because it is. You don't have to overhaul your life overnight. You only need to win the next moment. Discipline lives in the small choices: what you say yes to, what you delay, and what you refuse to compromise. The more often you choose alignment over avoidance, the stronger your internal discipline becomes. Let this be the beginning of your foundation, a mindset rooted in ownership, intentionality, and self-respect. The habits you build now will echo into the future version of yourself you're working toward. This is where your transformation begins, not through pressure but through presence, not by forcing change but by becoming the kind of person who follows through every single day. Let's build that discipline together, brick by brick, step by step. Discipline begins in the mind long before it shows up in behavior. What you believe about yourself, your identity, either strengthens or sabotages your ability to stay consistent. You don't just act disciplined, you become disciplined by aligning your actions with who you believe you are. If you continue to say, I'm lazy, I'm inconsistent, or I've never been good at finishing things, your subconscious will hold on to that identity and make sure your actions match it. But if you shift your internal language to reflect the person you want to become, I follow through, I'm a person of discipline, I do hard things even when I don't feel like it, your mind begins to rewire. This is identity-based discipline. You aren't forcing yourself to behave differently, you're becoming someone different. Every disciplined person you admire, whether an athlete, entrepreneur, or leader, began with one simple but powerful decision: to stop being at war with themselves and start aligning their actions with their vision. They chose to stop negotiating with excuses, and so can you. But here's what you must know. Your brain will resist change. It wants familiarity and comfort. It will whisper lies. Skip it today. You deserve a break. Just this once. This is not a signal to stop. It's a signal that you're exactly where growth begins. Discipline is not easy. It's not meant to be. If it were, everyone would live the life they dream of. But the ones who do are those who act regardless of how they feel. So how do you build that mental edge? First, track your promises. If you say you'll wake up early, and you do, that's a deposit into your self-respect bank. Every time you follow through, you cast a vote for the disciplined version of yourself. And every time you break a promise to yourself, you withdraw trust. Discipline grows when your inner word becomes unbreakable. Second, eliminate decision fatigue. Don't leave discipline up to willpower. Structure your life to make the right choice automatic. Prepare your workout clothes the night before. Set timers for deep work. Plan your meals. Use tools and cues that nudge you toward consistency. Systems are stronger than feelings. Third, expect resistance. Don't be surprised when your mind tries to talk you out of discipline. Prepare for it. Have a mental script. For example, when your brain says, "Just skip it today," respond immediately. That's not what we do anymore. The faster you respond to doubt, the less power it has over your behavior. The most powerful thing you can do today is build small wins. Don't underestimate the impact of doing one thing you said you would, no matter how small. That's how trust is built. That's how discipline is forged. You are training your mind to respect your choices, not your moods. The moment you stop seeking motivation and start honoring your commitments, you separate yourself from the majority. You step into uncommon discipline, and with that comes uncommon results. One of the most overlooked truths about discipline is this: your environment is either shaping you into your strongest self or slowly pulling you away from it. You can have the best intentions, powerful goals, and clear priorities, but if your environment is full of friction, distractions, or people who don't support your growth, discipline becomes an uphill battle. To practice daily discipline, you must master the space around you, not just physically, but mentally and socially as well. Let's begin with your physical environment. Look at your home, your workspace, your phone. Is it set up to support focus and action, or does it invite procrastination? Are there visual cues that trigger the behavior you want or temptations that make avoidance easy? Start eliminating friction. If your goal is to read more, keep a book on your pillow, not buried in a drawer. If you want to eat healthier, fill your fridge with fuel, not sabotage. If you're trying to limit screen time, remove apps from your home screen, turn off notifications, and create no-phone zones during high-focus hours. This isn't about perfection. It's about removing the unnecessary resistance that erodes your willpower over time. Next, manage your mental environment. What are you feeding your mind each day? What kind of content are you consuming? What beliefs are you reinforcing? Every word you read, every voice you hear, every story you tell yourself becomes part of your internal operating system. If you want to be disciplined, you must protect your mindset like your future depends on it, because it does. Choose inspiration over distraction. Read and listen to content that builds your focus, sharpens your thinking, and pulls you into aligned action. And then there's your social environment, the people around you. Discipline can't thrive if you're surrounded by those who constantly validate your excuses or distract you from your purpose. You need to be around those who challenge you, hold you accountable, and reflect the level of consistency you're working toward. Sometimes that means having hard conversations. Other times, it means silently distancing yourself from people, places, or behaviors that no longer serve you. Remember, proximity is power. Your future is being shaped by who and what you're close to. Discipline is easier when your environment whispers, "You've got this," instead of "just skip it." Build environments that make the right choice feel natural and the wrong choice feel out of place. Make discipline your default, not your fight. This level of awareness gives you leverage. You're no longer depending on motivation to push you. You're designing your life to pull you toward greatness. Small shifts in your environment create massive shifts in your behavior. Rearrange your world to reflect the person you're becoming, because that version of you, they're already on the way, and every disciplined decision brings them closer. One of the most powerful ways to strengthen discipline is through structure. Without structure, your energy leaks, your focus fragments, your days blur into each other. But with structure, your priorities become clear, your habits compound, and your momentum builds. Discipline doesn't thrive in chaos, it thrives in clarity. Let's begin by defining what structure really means. It's not about creating a rigid, joyless routine. It's about designing your time with intention. It's about choosing how your day unfolds, rather than letting it be shaped by distractions, demands, or other people's agendas. Structure gives discipline a place to live. The most disciplined people you know don't rely on willpower, they rely on systems, and systems begin with a schedule, not just a to-do list, but a time-blocked plan that prioritizes your deepest commitments and aligns your behavior with your long-term vision. When you wake up without a plan, you hand over your power. You leave space for distraction, hesitation, and decision fatigue. But when you begin your day with structure, you eliminate uncertainty, you take control, you protect your focus. So here's a foundational action step. Design a daily framework. Start by anchoring your day with 2-3 non-negotiables, high-impact habits that shape who you are becoming. These could include things like morning movement, to energize your body, deep work time, to move your mission forward, digital disconnection blocks to reclaim your attention, evening reflection or planning to stay grounded and prepared. Then schedule your most important work in your highest energy window. For many, this is the first few hours of the morning. Use that time for focused effort, not busy work. Don't just check boxes, build your future. Next, use transitional rituals to shift gears throughout your day. When you're done with one task or entering a new environment, take a breath, reset your focus and ask, what does discipline look like in this next moment? This simple pause prevents mindless momentum from taking over. Also, embrace simplicity. Don't clutter your day with 20 tasks that drain your spirit. Choose fewer, better things. Discipline isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters with full presence. And most importantly, review your structure weekly. What worked? What didn't? What needs to change to support who you're becoming? Remember, structure is your ally. It's not a trap, it's a freedom tool. It frees you from regret, from wasted time, from the guilt of knowing you could have done more. When your days are shaped by intention, discipline becomes less of a decision and more of a natural rhythm. Start building that rhythm today. Show up for your schedule, not perfectly, but powerfully, not to impress anyone else, but to honor the person you're becoming. At the heart of daily discipline lies one crucial skill, the ability to take action regardless of emotion. Discipline is not about feeling ready, it's about doing what's necessary, even when you don't feel like it. This is where most people fall short. They wait for the mood to strike, the motivation to rise, the energy to be perfect. But those who live with real discipline understand something essential. Action leads, and emotion follows. You don't need to feel confident to act. You need to act to build confidence. You don't need to feel motivated to start. You need to start to create momentum. The longer you wait for the right moment, the further you drift from your goals. Discipline closes that gap. It eliminates the debate in your head and replaces it with a commitment to movement. The key is to train yourself to act quickly, especially when your mind hesitates. That hesitation is a turning point. In those few seconds, you're either building power or giving it away. When you feel resistance, that's your signal. Don't overthink. Don't negotiate, just begin. Use a simple mental tool like the 5-second rule. Count down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move. This bypasses the mental chatter and shifts you into motion. Once you're in motion, the task almost always becomes easier. You begin to realize that the hardest part wasn't the work, it was starting. This is how discipline gets built, by reducing friction between thought and action. Another powerful shift is to redefine what success looks like. It's not about finishing everything at once. It's about doing the next right thing with full commitment. Focus on showing up, not showing off. Focus on consistency, not perfection. Even a few minutes of intentional effort, repeated daily, beats occasional bursts of intensity. That's the secret behind every lasting transformation. Consistent, deliberate, often unglamorous action. You're not here to chase feelings. You're here to chase alignment. That means doing what you said you'd do, regardless of how you feel in the moment. That's real power. Every time you act in alignment with your goals, especially when it's uncomfortable, you expand your capacity for discipline. You teach yourself, I can be trusted, I do what needs to be done, I follow through, and that identity becomes stronger with each action. Discipline is not just what you do, it's who you're becoming. So next time your mind says, not today, let your actions say, watch me. You don't need more motivation, you need more movement. Start, and the rest will follow. One of the most dangerous myths about discipline is that it should feel natural, that the disciplined person always wants to do the hard things. The truth is, discipline often feels boring, repetitive, quiet, even invisible, and that's exactly why most people quit. They confuse excitement with progress, and when the initial spark fades, so does their effort. But those who succeed in fitness, business, relationships, or personal growth understand something deeper. Success is hidden in the mundane. If you can learn to show up for the ordinary, you unlock the extraordinary. Discipline is forged in those moments when no one's watching, when there's no applause, no instant result, no surge of dopamine, just you, your commitment, and the quiet grind. That's the arena where mastery is built, the gym sessions that feel the same, the journaling that seems repetitive, the emails you don't feel like writing, the savings you keep adding to, even when it's slow. These are the bricks of a powerful life. Repetition is not the enemy, it's the path. You have to fall in love with doing the basics well, over and over again. This is where many sabotage themselves. They chase novelty instead of mastery. But switching routines constantly, or abandoning structure too soon, leaves you stuck in the starting phase of everything and the finishing phase of nothing. Instead, develop rhythm. Create sacred routines that ground you. Start to associate repetition with growth, not boredom, because every time you repeat a disciplined behavior, you're not just doing the task, you're reinforcing your identity. Here's a mindset to adopt. Repetition is reputation. What you do often becomes what you're known for, especially to yourself. Do you want to be known as the person who always finds a way to show up, or the person who only acts when it feels good? Your ability to handle boredom, to stay consistent through repetition, is a superpower. Most people quit when it stops being exciting, but you're here to build something permanent, something strong, something rooted in character. Keep showing up, keep doing the work no one sees, keep sharpening your edge quietly, even when it feels like nothing's changing, because that's where everything is changing. Every repetition is a seed. It may not look like growth yet, but under the surface, your roots are deepening, your character is expanding, your self-trust is solidifying, and eventually those invisible wins will lead to visible results, because discipline always pays off. To practice discipline every day, you must learn to manage your relationship with discomfort, because make no mistake, discipline will often lead you into moments that are hard, inconvenient, or mentally demanding. But here's the truth most people avoid. Your ability to grow is directly tied to your capacity to stay calm and committed in uncomfortable situations. Discipline is not about removing discomfort. It's about staying in control within it. The world is full of people who start strong, but retreat at the first sign of resistance. The disciplined are different. They stay the course, not because it's easy, but because they've trained themselves to view discomfort as data, not danger. Discomfort doesn't mean stop. It means you're stretching. It's the same in fitness. Muscles don't grow without tension, and neither does your mind. Every time you push through internal resistance, you become mentally tougher, emotionally sharper, and more aligned with your highest standards. So how do you train yourself to work with discomfort instead of running from it? Start by observing your patterns. When does discomfort trigger avoidance in you? Is it during difficult conversations, early mornings, intense workouts, or deep work? Once you know your points of resistance, you can face them with intention rather than reaction. Then reframe the discomfort. Instead of saying, "This is hard, I hate this," begin saying, "This is hard, which means it's worth doing." That small mental shift rewires your nervous system to tolerate intensity instead of escaping it. Next, use your breath as a discipline tool. When the urge to quit arises, breathe slowly and deeply. Ground yourself. Don't let short-term emotion drive long-term decisions. One calm breath can create enough space to choose your values over your impulses. You can also anchor yourself with what we call a why statement. This is a short, powerful reminder of your greater purpose. Write it down and carry it with you, or memorize it. When the work gets tough, return to it. Let your why speak louder than your excuses. Most importantly, remember this: discomfort is temporary, regret is not. The pain of discipline may sting in the moment, but the pride of following through lasts, and the pain of quitting, that lingers far longer than any temporary strain. Make a choice. Lean into the fire, or step back into comfort. One leads to transformation, the other to stagnation. This is your edge, the place where most turn around and only the committed move forward. You don't need to eliminate discomfort. You need to build your tolerance for it. That's how the disciplined rise, and with every moment you refuse to run, you train your mind to trust you. You become resilient, grounded, unshakable, because discomfort isn't your enemy, it's your training ground. At the core of discipline is a principle many overlook: delayed gratification, the ability to say no to what you want now in order to say yes to what matters most later. It's a quiet kind of power, not flashy, not dramatic, but deeply transformative. We live in an instant culture, instant likes, instant results, instant satisfaction. But discipline asks something different from you. It asks you to pause, to think long-term, to choose the pain of patience over the comfort of now. That's not weakness, that's strength. The undisciplined mind is addicted to immediacy. It seeks comfort in what's easy, even when that ease comes at the cost of your future. But the disciplined mind delays the impulse, stands in the discomfort of waiting, and acts in alignment with what will matter tomorrow, not just what feels good today. This isn't about deprivation, it's about direction. When you delay gratification, you reclaim your time, your health, your peace of mind, your potential. You stop being reactive, and you become intentional. You stop living by emotional cravings, and you start living by conscious design. So how do you develop this ability? Start small. Every day is filled with micro decisions. Will you scroll for 20 minutes, or use that time to prepare for tomorrow? Will you spend impulsively, or invest intentionally? Will you speak to release pressure, or pause to protect progress? Each time you delay a short-term pleasure to serve a long-term purpose, you train the part of your brain responsible for executive function, the part that governs self-control, planning, and maturity. It's like building a muscle. At first it trembles, but over time it strengthens. Here's a simple technique. Before acting on an impulse, ask yourself one question: will this decision create short-term comfort or long-term alignment? Then pause. Even 10 seconds of space can break the cycle of instant gratification. Another method: visualize the cost. Every easy choice has a price. The skipped workout, the unnecessary purchase, the lost hour in distraction. It's not just about the moment. It's about what that moment takes from your future.
Picture the cost clearly, let it outweigh the temporary comfort, and finally, reward yourself the right way. Discipline doesn't mean joyless living, it means earned rewards. Celebrate consistency, not convenience. Let your pleasures come from progress, not escape. Discipline is doing the hard thing now, so your future self can live with peace, power, and freedom. It's trusting that what you're building is worth more than what you're avoiding. Every moment you delay gratification, you accelerate growth, because the life you want, it's built in those quiet moments of choosing purpose over impulse, again and again.
To live with discipline every day, you must develop one vital trait: self-respect. Self-respect is the root of consistent action. It's not about ego, pride, or appearance. It's about the deep internal belief that your time, energy, and future are worth protecting. Without self-respect, discipline feels like punishment. With it, discipline becomes an act of honor. Many people don't struggle with discipline because they're lazy. They struggle because they've forgotten their worth. They lower their standards, not because they want to, but because they've lost touch with how powerful they truly are. Discipline is how you reclaim that. When you wake up early even though no one else sees it, that's self-respect. When you walk away from unhealthy habits, that's self-respect. When you say no to distractions so you can focus on your mission, that's self-respect. It's you telling the world, I take myself seriously. But here's the hard truth. If you continually break promises to yourself, that trust begins to erode. And without trust, discipline has no foundation. So the work begins with rebuilding that inner agreement. Start small. Choose one commitment each day and follow through on it no matter what. It doesn't have to be grand, it just has to be consistent. Because the smallest kept promise is more powerful than the biggest abandoned goal. And when you keep showing up, your internal dialogue changes. Instead of saying I can't, you begin saying I do. You stop chasing motivation and start acting from integrity. You stop needing external validation because your inner word carries weight. This is where discipline begins to stick. Not from shame, not from guilt, but from dignity. Treat yourself like someone you are deeply responsible for. Speak to yourself with truth, act in your best interest, and set boundaries that protect your focus. This is not selfish, it's foundational. A powerful shift occurs when you stop trying to force discipline and start seeing it as a reflection of your relationship with yourself. You don't rise to the level of your potential, you rise to the level of your standards, and your standards are set by what you tolerate in your own behavior. Raise the standard, speak your goals, then act like someone who deserves them, not just once in a while, but daily. And when you fall short, as we all do, correct with compassion, not criticism, then recommit. Always recommit. Discipline, at its core, is self-respect in motion. It's the daily choice to show up for the version of you that's waiting on the other side of your effort. You don't need to prove anything to anyone, but you owe everything to yourself. Honor that. If you want to be disciplined every day, you must stop relying on willpower and start relying on habit design. Discipline is not something you summon, it's something you build into your routine brick by brick, behavior by behavior. Willpower fades, it gets drained by stress, decision fatigue, and emotional turbulence. But habits, once installed, don't ask for permission. They don't beg for energy, they run on autopilot. This is the great secret of disciplined people. They don't wake up and ask, should I be disciplined today? They've structured their life so that discipline is the default. So how do you build this kind of system? You start with intention, simplicity, and repetition. First, define one core habit that aligns with the identity you're building, not 10. 1. Make it specific, visible, and repeatable. For example, I write for 20 minutes every morning before checking my phone. I stretch for 10 minutes after my workout. I review my top 3 priorities every night before bed. Don't chase complexity, chase consistency. A small habit done daily is more valuable than a big one done occasionally. Second, anchor the new habit to an existing one. This is called habit stacking. You take a behavior that's already automatic and attach the new one to it. For example, after I brush my teeth, I drink a full glass of water. After I make my bed, I plan my top task for the day. After I close my laptop, I tidy my workspace. This creates a natural trigger and reduces the mental friction of deciding when to act. Next, make the habit easy to start. If it takes more than 60 seconds to begin, it's too complicated. The first step should feel almost effortless. This is called reducing activation energy. If you want to work out in the morning, lay out your clothes the night before. If you want to journal, Keep your notebook open on your desk. Eliminate all excuses before they arise. Also, design your environment to support the habit. If your phone is the biggest distraction, keep it out of reach during your focus time. If healthy eating is your goal, prep your meals ahead. Let your surroundings pull you into discipline instead of pulling you away from it. Finally, track your consistency. You don't need a fancy system. A simple checkmark on a calendar can work wonders. Why? Because what gets measured gets reinforced. Every checkmark becomes a visual reminder of your integrity, a chain of evidence that says, I'm the kind of person who follows through, and if you miss a day, don't miss two. The goal is not perfection. The goal is rhythm. Fall off, get back on, always. With each repetition, your identity shifts. You no longer just try to be disciplined. You are someone who honors habits. Someone who doesn't depend on mood or willpower, but who lives by design, and that's where freedom lives. Not in chaos, not in effort alone, but in a system built for the person you're becoming. To become disciplined every day, you must learn how to protect your energy, because the truth is, discipline isn't just about time management, it's about energy management. You can have all the time in the world, but if your energy is scattered, depleted, or misused, discipline becomes a losing battle. You are not a machine. You are a human being with emotional, mental, and physical cycles, and real discipline means learning how to honor those rhythms without becoming a slave to them. Start by asking, where does my energy go? Track what drains you and what fuels you. Are you waking up tired because your evening habits lack intention? Are you trying to be productive while mentally exhausted instead of building in recovery? Discipline is not about pushing harder, it's about managing smarter. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is understanding the difference between high-value work and busy work. Just because you're in motion doesn't mean you're moving forward. Many people are busy being busy, checking boxes, scrolling, reacting, but they're not actually building anything meaningful. High-value work requires focused energy, and that means eliminating the noise. Build energy rituals into your day, small, intentional moments that restore your clarity. That could mean stepping outside for 5 minutes to reset your mind. It could mean setting boundaries around your phone in the first and last hour of your day. It could mean deep breathing between tasks, or taking short walks to avoid burnout. Also, protect your mental inputs. What you consume mentally affects what you create physically. Negative news cycles, toxic conversations, and digital overwhelm can silently drain your willpower. Choose your inputs with the same care you'd choose your food or finances, and don't ignore your physical foundation. Sleep, hydration, nutrition, and movement aren't optional. They're the pillars discipline stands on. If your body is constantly fatigued, your brain will fight every step of your goals. Fuel yourself to focus. You also need to identify your peak energy zones. When do you feel most alert, sharp, and creative? Guard those windows with your life. Use them for your most important tasks, not emails, not errands, but the work that actually moves the needle. And when your energy dips, as it naturally will, don't criticize yourself. Adjust your pace. Not every day will be a sprint, but even on the lower energy days, you can still move forward. Even small acts of discipline compound over time. This is the essence of sustainable discipline, not pushing yourself into burnout, but learning how to work with your energy, not against it. The more you protect your energy, the more consistent your execution becomes. And when your energy is aligned with your intention, your days become not just productive, but powerful. Discipline lives in how you manage what fuels you. So guard your energy like your future depends on it, because it does. To practice discipline consistently, you must learn to master boundaries, not just with the world, but with yourself. Boundaries are the invisible lines that protect your priorities. Without them, your time gets hijacked, your focus gets scattered, and your energy gets depleted. You can't expect to live a disciplined life if you allow everything and everyone to pull you in 100 directions. Discipline is not only about doing what you should do, it's about protecting yourself from what you shouldn't allow. Boundaries are not about being rigid or distant. They are about being clear about your values, your time, your goals, and your limits. And the first step to setting boundaries is knowing what truly matters to you. If you don't know what's essential, everything will feel urgent. Start by defining your non-negotiables. What are the top 2 or 3 things that must happen each day for you to stay aligned with the disciplined life you're building? Maybe it's your morning routine, a block of deep focus time, a family dinner, or an evening wind down. Once you know these anchors, you must protect them fiercely and unapologetically. This may require saying no more often, and that's a skill worth mastering. Most people say yes because they fear conflict, rejection, or judgment. But every yes to something unaligned is a no to your progress. You don't owe anyone access to your time, attention, or energy just because they ask for it. It's not rude to say no. It's responsible. It's not selfish to protect your space. It's strategic.
You also need internal boundaries, not just from others, but from yourself. These are the agreements you make with your future self. For example, I don't check my phone before 9 a.m. I don't break deep focus for social media. I end my workday by 7 p.m., even when I could keep going. These rules aren't there to limit your freedom, they're there to protect it. Because real freedom comes from self-control, not from doing whatever you feel in the moment. And when others push against your boundaries, which they will, remember this: people don't have to understand your boundaries for them to be valid. Your growth doesn't require their approval, it requires your commitment. The more consistent you are with your boundaries, the less reactive your life becomes. You stop living in response to other people's expectations and start living in alignment with your own design. And that alignment, that's where discipline becomes effortless. Not because it's easy, but because it's clear. So define your lines, guard them with intention, speak them with calm confidence, and live by them without apology. Because when you build a life around clear boundaries, you create the space where your most disciplined, powerful, and purposeful self can thrive. One of the most powerful mindset shifts you can make on the path to daily discipline is to stop chasing motivation and start cultivating identity. Most people wait until they feel motivated to take action, but motivation is unpredictable. It comes and goes. It's emotional. It's reactive. You can't build a life on something that vanishes every time you're tired, uncomfortable, or uninspired. But identity, that's different. When you act from identity, you no longer ask yourself, do I feel like doing this today? Instead, you ask, what would the disciplined version of me do right now? And then you act accordingly, not because of how you feel, but because of who you are. Discipline becomes sustainable when your actions are rooted in identity, not emotion. For example, instead of saying, I'm trying to wake up early, shift to, I'm someone who respects my mornings. Instead of saying, I'm trying to eat healthier, say, I'm someone who fuels their body to function at a high level. Instead of saying, I need to be more consistent, say, I'm someone who shows up no matter what. This shift might seem subtle, but it changes everything. Because the more you act like the person you want to become, the more that identity becomes your reality. And once your identity is aligned, discipline becomes a natural extension of who you are, not a constant effort to become something you're not. So how do you lock in this identity-based approach? First, get clear on the type of person you want to become. Write it down. What traits do they embody? How do they speak, act, think, and show up? Be specific. Second, start building evidence for that identity. Every action you take is a vote. One workout is a vote for being disciplined. One healthy meal is a vote for self-respect. One focused hour of deep work is a vote for being someone who values their craft. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to stack enough votes in the right direction that you begin to trust who you are becoming. Third, speak as if it's already true. Words shape reality. Stop saying you're trying. Start affirming who you are, and act in alignment with that truth, even before you fully believe it. Identity catches up to behavior. This is why discipline at its highest level is not forced, it's chosen. Chosen again and again by someone who has decided, this is who I am now. And when you build discipline from that place, it becomes less about control and more about congruence. Less about rules and more about alignment. You're no longer pushing yourself to be something new. You're revealing the strength that's already within you. So decide who you are, then back it up with action. Not once, every day. To sustain discipline over time, you must master the art of self-renewal. It's easy to confuse discipline with endless output, always grinding, always pushing, always doing. But true discipline isn't about burnout. It's about balance, pacing, and knowing how to recharge without falling off course. There's a difference between quitting and resting. There's a difference between being disciplined and being addicted to overwork. Without recovery, even the most focused person will break. Your ability to show up consistently depends on your ability to reset intentionally. Just like muscles need rest to grow, your mind, your willpower, and your focus need time to reset, reflect, and realign. Self-renewal is not a luxury. It's a strategic discipline. So how do you build renewal into your life while staying on track? Start with your inputs. What fills you? What recharges your emotional battery and restores your clarity? It could be movement in nature, time in silence, creative play, journaling, spiritual practices, or intentional time with people who uplift you. Identify the habits that make you feel stronger afterward, and schedule them with the same seriousness as your work. You also need pause points, moments throughout your day where you step away, even briefly, to breathe, stretch, reset, and reconnect with your intention. These breaks prevent mental fatigue and emotional numbness. Even 5 mindful minutes between tasks can restore hours of lost focus. Then there's your evening rhythm. A disciplined life isn't just about how you start your day, it's about how you close it. End each day with reflection. Ask, what did I do well? Where did I drift? What will I adjust tomorrow? This keeps your mind sharp and your behavior aligned. Also, understand the difference between productive rest and passive distraction. Binging on content, numbing out with mindless scrolling, or over-consuming stimulation may feel like rest, but they rarely renew your spirit. Choose rest that restores, not just distracts. Protect your sleep, hydrate, move your body daily. Treat rest not as something you earn only after exhaustion, but as something you integrate so you can show up fully, every day. This is how high performers avoid burnout. They don't wait until they're running on empty. They build in rhythms of renewal that allow them to stay disciplined long term, not just for a week, but for a lifetime. Remember, your discipline is only as strong as your recovery. This is what makes your discipline sustainable. This is what ensures your progress is not only real, but lasting. You're not here for short bursts of intensity. You're here to build a way of life that supports your highest potential. And that life requires not just effort, but energy, and the wisdom to know how to renew it. Discipline is not just something you do, it's something you embody. It's not a phase or a trend, it's a lifestyle, a way of being, thinking, acting and living that stays with you even when no one is watching, even when circumstances change, even when life gets hard. This isn't about perfection, it's about alignment. You've learned how discipline flows from identity, how structure creates freedom, how small habits compound, how boundaries protect energy, how discomfort sharpens character, and how consistency outperforms motivation. But at the deepest level, what sustains it all is your decision to lead yourself. That's what daily discipline truly is. Self-leadership. You stop waiting to be saved by external motivation. You stop outsourcing your standards to your feelings. You stop negotiating with your lesser self. And instead, you rise, every day with clear intention and deliberate action. You decide again and again to be the kind of person who does what needs to be done, whether it's exciting or ordinary, convenient or uncomfortable. Self-leadership means you no longer just react to life. You respond with purpose. You stay calm under pressure. You honor your commitments. You protect your focus. You act with integrity, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not, because you know that every decision is shaping something. Your character, your confidence, your future. So here is your invitation now. Take everything you've learned and live it. Don't let discipline be a theory. Let it be a practice, a daily decision, a personal standard. Wake up and choose it, again and again, not because it's easy, but because it's yours, because it reflects your values, because it builds your future, because it honors your highest self. And when you stumble, as we all do, you don't spiral, you realign, you recommit, you rise. This is what separates the average from the uncommon. Not talent, not luck, but the quiet, unshakable resolve to keep showing up with discipline, no matter what. Because in the end, the most powerful life is not the one filled with quick wins or bursts of hype. It's the one built with daily choices, quiet excellence, focused effort, relentless alignment. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do the next right thing, every day. And when you live like that, discipline is no longer something you chase. It's who you are. Thank you for listening to How to Be Disciplined Every Day, written and published by Mindset Masters Audiobooks. Now go and lead yourself boldly.